morning and welcome to the Paulding County Board of Commissioners Work Session, January 27, 2015. We welcome all our invited guests and elected officials. As we look around the room, we have our tax commissioner, Mr. Watson. We have our clerk, Trader Shelton. We have Mayor Doris Debbie. Who else am I missing? Thank you all for being here. We have some other celebrities. We got some Troutman Sanders folks and Chip Lake and other folks here with us today. So thank you all for being here. Will the marshal please bring the sign? We have Dinah, Sudan, Dr. Covington, Chris Byram, Kathy Helms, and KB Coggins wishing to speak this morning. For our invocation and pledge, we have Pastor Don Sheeran with Legacy Baptist Church. Would you stand with me if you're able?
Let's start with the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father, I thank you in the name of Jesus for allowing me to be here and my schedule to permit to be here. And so, God, I thank you for that. Lord, but I pray for these men and these women who sit over this county. And God, I pray for the one thing I believe they need more than anything else right now, and that's unity. And God, I pray that you would unify their hearts with one common goal to do what's in the best interest of this county. God, I pray that we would not seek personal grudges or vendettas or even personal items, but God, that we would seek to honor the people of this county through what we do. God, I pray that they would have a heart for the people, and God, that they would ultimately see that, you know, we're here, even myself, to represent people and to protect people. And so, God, I pray that they could do it with a clean heart, a right mind, and a right spirit. Bless them, unify them, and bring them together for the good of the county. It's in the name of Jesus that I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor, for a beautiful prayer. Minutes, the January 13th, 2015 work session minutes and January 13th, 2015 board meeting minutes are available for your review. The Board of Commissioners would now like to present the Public Safety Appreciation Award to John Palmer for the Paulding County Marshals Bureau. Leanne, I believe you have something to say, and John, you come forward. Face the fire squad.
Good morning.
Morning.
The Marshal Bureau want to take this opportunity to recognize Officer John Palmer. Officer John Palmer has been employed with the Paulding County Marshal Bureau since July 8, 2014. Prior to his employment with the Marshal Bureau, he spent 5 years with the Douglas County Sheriff's Office. Officer Palmer is assigned to the Security Division and is often the first point of contact when citizens enter the building. Officer Palmer is very proficient in detecting weapons at the security checkpoint, but also provides a very friendly and customer-oriented attitude. Recently, our patrol division was short, and Officer Palmer stepped up to help relieve some of the calls, and did so without complaining. Officer Palmer worked very hard and was instrumental in getting the cases called up. Despite having a large caseload, Officer Palmer continued producing quality work and was successful in staying on top of his cases with very little supervision. When we have extra duties that need to be taken care of, such as working late night meetings, Officer Palmer is always the first to step up. He does whatever he needs to make sure the duties and responsibilities of the Marshal Bureau are handled and taken care of. Officer Palmer goes above and beyond every day, and most days you do not even know he's here, but you definitely know when he's not here. John, thank you for all you do for our Marshal Bureau.
Stand with him, we'll do a little picture. Administrator, honor one of our public safety inspectors. No invited guests, bid awards, discuss action to award to Hardy Chevrolet the purchase of 11 Chevrolet Caprices for the purchase price of $27,994 each, for a total cost of $307,934. This is for the Sheriff's Department. Tabitha Pollard.
Good morning. As you know, usually we purchase these off the state contract. This party has offered them to us for a little bit less than the state contract this year. The state listing is $29,631, and they're being purchased for $27,994. That's about $1,600 less than the state contract amount. And if you, I look back, and this price was better than the 2013 price. And we have Major Hunt with us. If any of you have any questions concerning.
I thought there was a point in time where they were going to cease to make Caprices, didn't it? Does anybody answer that question? Did they
Chairman,
come up?
good morning.
Good morning.
Chairman, on the Chevrolet Caprices, I'm not aware of them stopping the manufacturing of the Caprice.
Okay.
However, several years ago, Ford did quit making the Crown Vics. So, you know, that's why the sheriff had chose the Caprices at that time.
That works for y'all's computers and all your equipment that you have to have in there.
Yes, sir. Chevrolet developed that Caprice to meet the standards for law enforcement, for the NDTs, the computers that go in the cars, the radio systems and all that. They have extra, they have an extra battery that's in there. It also, the alternators are a bigger alternator than on a normal vehicle, so it can run those extra power sources.
While we have you up here, not related to that, but I've been seeing where other agencies are starting to add the camera that you wear on your person. Are we doing that yet, or headed in that direction?
I don't want to speak for the sheriff on that matter. We have discussed it, but not in a formal setting. We've looked at some in the past. Previously, I was the jail administrator. We experimented with some in the facility. The cost of these cameras to put them on the officers and the deputies will be an extreme amount of money to be able to do that. The ones that we've T&E that we've tested and evaluated, they weren't able to uphold to our conditions at different times. So, but we haven't had any formal communications about using the body cameras.
To the best of my memory, we replaced about 10 last year, so this is just in sync with that.
Are you talking about the vehicle, sir?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Just to give y'all an idea, in 2014, our patrol division patrolled 2,955,630,000 miles in 2014. We had close to 60,000 complaints that we responded to. Most of the vehicles that we're using, we're getting anywhere. Most of the time what takes place is we'll put the newer vehicles with our patrol division because they need to have the best vehicles. We get about 5 years out of those vehicles, and then they go to our, I don't want to say, trying to think of the right way to put it, but our other divisions that aren't constantly on the road, such as Criminal Investigations Division, our Civil Division, our School Resource Officers, things like that. But by the time they're transitioned out from patrol, we're averaging somewhere between 150 and 175,000 miles on the vehicles.
It'll take several months, 4 or 5 months to get them, and it's SPLOST funds.
Yes, sir, that's my understanding. As far as getting them outfitted and everything, just on average, it could be 6 to 8 months before they're ready to hit the street.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Number 2, discuss action to award the Peak Pavement Markings LLC in the amount of $61,250 for the 2015 RPM Raised Pavement Markers Project capital.
This goes back in time a little bit. In July or August timeframe, we originally issued this bid and we awarded to TMI. TMI did not follow through on their commitment, so we are now asking to award to Peak Pavement. And we have George Jones available if you have any questions. This specifically for raised pavement markers that will be installed on 49 of our county roads. And we have notified TMI that if they didn't come into work, we won't be doing business with them without some kind of assurance plan that we will not be in this situation again.
I talked to Scott Green the other day, and he said that we would probably start that in March after the cold weather, since we've made it this far. We don't need to put them on the road now and then maybe scrape them off. So that sounds good.
Thank you very much. Thank you, George. Number 3, discuss action to approve the purchase of International 4300 SBA 4x2 truck to the lowest responsible bidder, Russ Centers of Georgia, in the amount of $71,484.90. This is for the water system. This is an equivalent to a Ford 750. We can get it for less money, and I think similar type trucks. So you want to tell us about that?
Okay, yes, sir. What was requested was a Ford F650 actually, and the 750 was less expensive than the 650. And when we got the quotes, Tim Ashton, our fleet maintenance director, requested a quote from International because they have a comparable truck to the Ford F750. And they were low, and as you recall, we had the same instance a few months ago with the DOT vehicle. Rush Truck Centers was the low bid in the amount of $71,484.90, and it's for a 4300 SBA 4x2. And what the SBA is, it identifies a single rear axle under 26,000 gross vehicle weight.
Very good. Any questions?
Is this a water department vehicle for
Yes, sir.
maintaining lines?
Maintaining lines.
Thank you. No reports from committees and departments. Now it's public participation on agenda items. Dynasty Inn, 7409 Evo Road, Hiram Old Business item number 1. Donna, Pat will let you know in your 5 minutes.
I'm sorry, it's Dina.
Dana, okay.
Dina.
Dina, gotcha.
I've been called worse. Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
I thank you for the opportunity to come before you today and speak about an issue I feel very strongly about. The actions to remove certain airport authority and IBA board members from the boards before their terms are complete. I realize this action may not come to fruition, but I would still like to tell you how I and many other Paulding residents feel about this matter. It is no secret that the airport authority and the IBA boards are made up of strong supporters of commercialization. I have no problems with these individuals' personal opinions or preference, to each his own, right? However, I do have a problem with it is how they have conducted themselves on the county boards, shamelessly dismissing their responsibilities and obligations to the citizens and taxpayers of Paulding County, of which I am both. In their attempt to commercialize our airport, they have abandoned their moral code by putting their personal agendas before the county's, by doing whatever they felt necessary to fulfill their aspirations. I have a big problem with that. Many of us do, and we believe the problem needs to be fixed now. Knowing that the Airport Authority Board members are being sued, including you, Mr. Austin, for violating the Meetings Act totally destroys any trust we could possibly have for this board today or in the future. This board did not violate the sunshine laws just once, but 4 times by not disclosing what was spoken about in the closed sessions. They also went into the extent of leaving the county to have a 2-day meeting in order to circumvent the citizens while discussing commercialization. And let me not forget the infamous deal with Propeller Investments that these individuals made behind closed doors and willingly kept secret for nearly a year from both the residents and Commissioner Todd Ponell. That's an entire post that wasn't represented. Their behavior is unconscionable, inexcusable, and if it doesn't warrant dismissal from the board, I don't know what does. Let me read a quote from the FFA Community Involvement. The FFA regards community involvement as an essential element in the development of programs and decisions that affect the public. The public has a right to know about these airport projects and to participate in the decision-making process. Calvin Thompson, Carrie Tidmore, Alan Shipp, and Ellis Austin have made a mockery of both the FFA and Paulding County. The IBA is being sued for the misuse of our tax dollars under the ultra-virus lawsuit. These board members have enabled the airport authority to move forward with their schemes by relentlessly giving them our tax dollars to fund their mission with no regard for law. Yes, it is unacceptable behavior, also warrants immediate removal for the appointed board members. These are just a few reasons the airport authority and the IBA board members should be removed and replaced. Clearly, they do not deserve the privilege of serving Paulding County. I thank you for your chance of letting me speak.
Dr. Covington, Dr. John Covington.
I am Dr. Covington. I live on 92, which is pretty much at the end of the Lockheed runway. I enjoy hearing those big jets come over my house, the helicopters. This gives me a secure feeling that we are in a great country.
You'll be asked to leave, please.
I am not up here to make a flowery speech like you just heard. I'm up here just to express my opinion. I've lived in Paulding County for over 58 years, and I'm proud of it. I'm proud of the progress that has been made over the years. It only comes about through unity, working together, trying to do what is best for the county and not for individuals. Now, I'm up here again. We've got, and she just mentioned him, Carrie Tidmore. He's an aviation gentleman from way back. He's a Air Force fighter pilot. He's a lieutenant colonel or full colonel, I'm not remember which, and they got a promotion. But he, in my opinion, if he got called back to service, Kerry would go, and he's another type of person that I would compare to Chris Kyle. Most of you, I think, know who Chris Kyle is. Calvin Thompson. I've known Calvin for years and years. Calvin has his own business. He's been very successful in his business. He is a good businessman. I know that you're criticizing him for making the statement that if this was to be anything other than a general airport, I would be against it. Ladies and gentlemen, if you did not change your mind about certain situations, you would not stay in business. And I'm sure that Calvin had this in mind when he has spoken now and a big supporter of the present airport. And he feels that the commercialization of the airport will help us with this Propeller group to bring in aviation jobs that are good paying jobs, and will build this airport up, will help build up the county. I know it's going to increase traffic. I know it's going to make it inconvenient for us at times, but we're living in times that progress moves fast, and it's probably going to move even faster in the period ahead of time. Ellis Aston, I know him fairly well, but I don't know him like the rest of the team, but he is a successful businessman in his own life. None of these gentlemen, and they've been accused of being for this, to pad their own pockets. They don't have to pad their own pockets. They are successful, very successful businessmen. And I know the Austin boys have been criticized also as being old timers here in the county, and we need new blood. But I've known these boys' daddy, their mother, and even some of the people here in the county, I've had the privilege of bringing them together with their mothers. I don't think, I don't believe Sheriff Gullidge is here today, but he's one that I helped bring into this world, and I'm proud of him. For a long time, he wasn't very proud of me, but he's decided differently than that. Let's see, there's two others, I guess, that I would mention, and that's Alan Shipp. Alan Shipp is a very successful businessman with his own life. He's a Georgia Tech graduate. He has an own company that he's CEO of. He has nothing to pad his pockets. He has the sincerity of the county at heart, just like the rest of us. And if it's something that's going to be a little inconvenience to us, let's get over it. Let's try to unify the county. I know we've got 2 new commissioners, and I believe that they will try to help us out too. We disagree often, but I think we can plan to agree not to disagree too much. Okay, I can't mention the one other one. Sorry. I really don't know Matt Bazzelli. I understand he's a recovering lawyer, but I won't hold that against him. He also is a successful businessman. I understand he's within a state master company. So let's all see if we can't come together somehow. And that's all I've got to say. Thank you.
Chris Byron, 747 Yorkville Road. Resolution 15-04, new business item number 4.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
This morning I'd like to speak on behalf of myself and countless residents who support the approval and implementation of Resolution 15-04, which requests that the Paulding County delegation to the Georgia General Assembly not introduce any local legislation affecting Paulding County without the request or approval of the Paulding County Board of Commissioners. What a wise and ethical decision adopting this resolution would be. A resolution that not only makes sense on many levels, but that ultimately protects the best interests of Paulding County by ensuring the initiation of local legislation only after the public endorsement of the Board of Commissioners, in the same manner as other county business decisions are and should be made. We expect all legislation that impacts the laws governing this county to be introduced to the Georgia General Assembly by the Paulding County delegation only after the deliberation and direction of this Board of Commissioners, since legislative changes can impact the status of this county in profound and long-lasting ways, and for those reasons should never be enacted irresponsibly. All legislative actions require the utmost consideration, which can only be achieved by the input of this entire board and not a select few. So, Commissioners, we applaud you for recognizing the value and importance of Resolution 1504, which safeguards the future security and the security of Paulding County. We, the residents and taxpayers of Paulding County, sincerely hope all of you will vote to approve this common sense resolution, which will serve to protect every citizen of Paulding County. Thank you.
Thank you.
Becky Jones, 194 Ogle Road, Rockmart, old business item number 1.
Morning.
Good morning.
Nice to see new faces, familiar faces. We have before us several agenda items that deal with the makeup of the Paulding County Airport Authority and the Industrial Building Authority, both of which members are unelected by citizens, with the exception of the mayors and the commission chairman. This group of people has the ability to levy taxes and approve bonds on multi-million-dollar projects with no input from the people who will ultimately be responsible for repayment of those bonds if those projects fail. And many of those projects do fail. That is a fact. Our own movie studio is a perfect example of such a project. We were promised thousands of jobs, increased revenue for the county tax, and tax savings for our property owners. Instead, we got one job, little revenue, and an increase in property taxes. Our general aviation airport, same scenario. Thousands of jobs promised, increased revenue and tax savings. Hasn't happened, even though it's what we were promised, and promised it would never ever have commercial planes. Nothing bigger than an SUV with wings. Paulding County Airport Authority is currently involved in a lawsuit because they felt it unnecessary to notify citizens about meetings held in private and what was discussed in these private sessions during 4 airport authority meetings. They didn't want the public to know anything about this project, the very people they're asking to back the bonds. I have a huge problem with them ignoring sunshine laws regarding open meetings. A 2-day unannounced retreat in Douglasville does not indicate they care about the citizens. It is not the job of this commission to approve use of taxpayer money to back private enterprise. It should not be the responsibility of taxpayers to back startup companies with no history and no success of running an airport. Let me reiterate, this is an airport, not an airline. I will agree, it has not been run properly for the last 10 years, and I can understand the desire to get someone that knows what they're doing to run the airport. But this is not the right answer. Privatizing the airport because of poor management on the taxpayer dime is ludicrous. Yes, the people sitting on the Paulding County Airport Authority and the Industrial Building Authority think this is a grand idea. I do believe it's time to replace them with people who understand how to run airports, how to manage projects, and how to attack private enterprise without putting taxpayers at risk. Somehow, I suspect that the commission chair wanted to replace any of the people sitting on these boards, it would be done. We now have at least 3 commissioners wanting to do just that. Replace them with people they have vetted and know they can work with for the citizens and the community. Any project dreamed up by the authorities that would exceed $10 million should be put on a referendum for taxpayers to vote on, not left to an unelected authority to decide. As commissioners that hold the purse strings for these authorities, I hope you would work with our legislators to limit the ability to increase taxes on residents and not expand those authorities. I'm still trying to figure out what the intent of the IGA passed by a lame duck commission hopes to accomplish. I see it as nothing more than a power grab to try to keep newly elected commissioners from protecting citizens and their desire to protect the job of an airport director that has yet to produce one job other than his and his assistants in 10 years. Let's get people on these authority boards that will do the will of the people, not some grandiose scheme and pie-in-the-sky projects. People that realize the airport doesn't belong to the Board of Commissioners, the Airport Authority, or the Industrial Building Authority. Paulding Northwest Atlanta Airport belongs to the citizens of Paulding County, all of them.
Yeah!
Debbie Coggins, 77, Denby Drive, old business item number 1.
That'd be right. to take this opportunity to thank the commissioners for allowing me to speak with you today. I feel it is in the best interest of the citizens of Paulding County to make the proposed changes in an effort to make these two authorities more efficient, open, and transparent. First, I have no doubt in my mind that all of the men and women that serve on the Paulding County Airport Authority and the Industrial Building Authority are good people with good intentions and have served on these authorities to the best of their abilities and have dedicated a lot of time and effort. Some have served since 2004 when it was first announced that the county was going to build a first-class general aviation airport at no cost to the county. The record will reflect that none of the current members of these authorities has the management skills or the training and experience necessary to build and or manage a general aviation airport or a commercial passenger airport. To support this claim, you only need to review a little history. In 2004, there were commitments made that the airport was going to be a general aviation airport, that everything was going to be done in the open, and would be no gray areas, and the cost would be approximately $24 million. And the airport was not going to cost the taxpayers of this county one red cent. When the airport was finished and the grand opening was held in November of 2008, the airport was $10 million over budget. Since that time, Mr. Chairman, under your guidance and the guidance of the Airport Authority and the Industrial Building Authority, the cost of the airport has now ballooned to somewhere between $65 and $70 million, with another $38 million proposed for capital improvements to be spent over the next 5 years. Millions of county dollars have been spent for salaries, maintenance, utilities, and the general operation of the airport during this time. In addition, just recently, millions more have been committed under an intergovernmental agreement. In the past 6 years, only 3 jobs have been created. 2 of those jobs are currently being paid for by the taxpayers of Paulding County, and the other job was subsidized by reduced rent from the Airport Authority for the fixed-base operator. In December of 2014, the previous Board of Commissioners, with the exception of Commissioner Parnell, voted for an intergovernmental agreement that would provide the Airport Authority with millions more in tax dollars for the salaries, benefits, maintenance, utilities, and general operations of the airport for the next 10 years. And the Airport Authority recently accepted this agreement with little or no discussion. The intergovernmental agreement acknowledges that for the next 10 years, millions in Paulding County tax dollars will be used to manage, operate, and maintain the facility. Just last week, the airport director was given a very lucrative employment contract with provisions in that contract that are probably unheard of with any current Paulding County employee. How much longer can we expect the Airport Authority and the Industrial Building Authority to continue making bad decisions without making changes to those that are making these decisions? If this was a private enterprise, changes would already have been made to ensure that things were done in a more practical and business-like manner. Since October of 2013, when the citizens first became aware of the secret meetings, negotiations, and the use of code names to hide this agreement to commercialize our general aviation airport, this Airport Authority and the IBA have continued to meet in secret by entering into closed sessions during most, if not every meeting since that time. Many, if not all, of these issues should have been discussed in open sessions. Commissioners, I urge you to vote for and support these changes to the Airport Authority and the IBA. I realize that this issue was tabled last meeting for some clarification. I sincerely urge you to carry this issue to the Superior Court of Paulding County if necessary to get to an equitable settlement. Thank you.
Consent agenda consent agenda item. Appoint William F. Buddy Harrelson to the Fire Advisory Board with a term ending 12/31/15. Would you like to move this item to regular session? Well, if you're in agreement with it, that will stay on the consent agenda, and that was Vernon's appointment to the fire advisory.
Chairman Austin, I would request to say a few words before you go into old business because it pertains
Sure.
to old
Okay.
business.
Does it pertain to the old business?
Yes.
Then you need to wait till there's a motion, a second, and then during discussion. So, that would be the proper way to do it.
Thanks.
We have old business, discuss action on removal of Terry Tidmore, Calvin Thompson, and Assassin from the Paulding County Airport Authority, and removal of Matt Buzzelli and Alan Shipp from the Paulding County Industrial Authority. This is forwarded from January 13th, 2015, Board of Commissioners meeting. Laney, this is the discussion you wanted to have about the recent opinion that we got.
I did. Gentlemen, you have in front of you the opinion that we only received last night in the informal version from Jim Grubiak with the Association of County Commissioners of Georgia. And I got to you this morning, actually, just before this meeting, the formal opinion from Jim Grubiak, who is the General Counsel to the Association of County Commissioners of Georgia. What it has on it is that he reviewed both the enabling legislation for the Paulding County Airport Authority and the enabling legislation for the Industrial Building Authority, and he determined, looking at some case law, that it is his opinion that because these gentlemen that we are talking about have terms, that it is his opinion that they cannot be removed during the course of their term at this time. I did just provide this to you, and we only got it, as I said, in an informal version last night and in a formal version this morning. I'm not sure that you've had time to read it. It's a couple pages long. Therefore, I provided it to you. I wanted you to see it, that you have it before you right now. That would pertain to items 1, 2, and 3.
Is there a motion on these three items?
Motion this afternoon,
Well, yeah, that's right. That was our discussion. Yes.
Pertaining to that, I did have some discussion, and I would like to thank Dan, Dr. Covington, and Chris and Kathy KV for speaking. As you've heard me say many times, it'd be great to live in a country where we have differing opinions and express them. The items that are in old business actually came up, obviously, at last meeting on January the 13th, and I was blindsided by the part on the boards, so I want to say a few things about boards. And I wanted to also, by review, state that Rebecca Meredith, who's the administrative assistant, starts the agenda for Board of Commissioners meetings in advance. She starts 7 days in advance seeking items for the agenda, and she works very diligently at that and tries as a goal to have the agenda printed 5 days before the Board of Commissioners meeting so that citizens can know if they would like to contribute by speaking, and that board members can get with the department heads and ask questions and study what the agenda items are. So we appreciate that, Rebecca, and that advance notice really helps. After we completed the agenda on January 13th, the first meeting of 2015, and I think the chairman had even asked for a motion to adjourn, 3 additional agenda items were brought up by my friend Commissioner Pownell. And it, blindsided me. I've been blindsided before. It's nothing new, but you don't have time to think about how you really feel about something. So, I've already been mentioning the names of the 3 off the Airport Authority and the 2 off the Industrial Building Authority that were going to be terminated, asked to step down. And the Airport Authority Board, Industrial Authority Board are 2 very important boards in our county, but there are 38 boards in this county. And they provide professionalism and expertise in key areas of our Paulding County government. In the last meeting also, we honored Mr. Homer Rackley for his service to the Board of Equalization. What a fine gentleman and what fine service. So whether it's the Planning and Zoning Board that's going to meet this afternoon at 2 o'clock, the Board of Elections, or the Keep Paulding Beautiful Board, where the board members actually mobilize on a regular basis and they pick up trash along with their families and friends on the side of the road. In my 2 years in elected office, I haven't seen any greater strength in Paulding County than the boards and other volunteers that get involved. That's what makes our county great. So the actions of these private citizens, in my view, are irreplaceable and just short of being sacred. The trust and confidence that we place in these nominees and appointees to these boards is very significant. Perhaps they would be better called trustees, as their duties involve a solemn trust relegated to them by us or whoever appoints them. So for a motion to be made to, in the middle of terms, to relieve those people, well, it was a surprise to me, and it really kind of rocked me. When I asked at the afternoon meeting for an explanation of why these people needed to leave, the response given from one of the commissioners was, well, these board members were not living up to the promises made to the citizens. I really appreciate Pastor Sharon's opening prayer, and so a couple of things that I thought of, I'm just going to leave out. I'll just say we do live in a great country, don't we? So if we had voted 2 weeks ago on that motion without a break for case law, to me it would have begun the unraveling of an established protocol, procedure, and an unwritten moral code of dealing with people, positions, and assignments. Were such a motion to pass, one might say that the message would be sent that highly regarded board appointees need only to disagree with 3 of 5 current county commissioners, and their positions would be jerked away from them. I gotta say, I also consider it a slap in the face to previous county commissioners who had carefully considered, vetted, and voted for the board members. I was going to say something about the individuals. The next motion was to replace the first meeting of 2015 with 5 people that were not discussed or evaluated in any way. So, if you want to dismember any of the boards or discourage our department heads and county employees in any way, some of the finest department heads in the state of Georgia, you can count me out. I will be no part of it.
Please, we need order. We're trying to get through this item, and as we study, we all go to school with ACCG, Association of County Commissioners of Georgia, and they have certified courses, and then they have advanced courses. And these advanced courses in law and various other departments that they handle will teach us how we can and remove board members. That's why they were asked to give a legal opinion. And the legal opinion, and they use case law to present this, is that we just, because we don't like the way somebody votes or how they act or we disagree with or whatever, we're not allowed just to go remove those people. They serve a term, and according to case law, they cannot be removed. So at this time, we have old business item 1, 2, and 3.
I'd like to say a couple things.
Okay.
Mr. Carmichael, thank you for your words. I understand that me bringing that up as far as a motion to do several things, that you didn't appreciate that. However, I want to make it clear that there's several ways for us to put things on the agenda. And that's one of the ways that we can put things on the agenda. And that's the direction that I chose to do. When that vote came in and we put that on the agenda, because that was an agenda item at the 2 o'clock meeting that day, that also gave any citizen a chance to speak on it also. So it could have been spoke on then. I understand whether you had it early or not, you weren't going to vote to agree with it, and I completely understand. Just to make it clear, this is nothing about individual people. If it was my choice, I would remove all of them from both boards because of some of the actions that have been done. Now, I realize it's not just my choice, but I'm standing here today looking you in the eye and I'm telling you, if it was up to me, I would remove all of them because of some of the things that were done in the past and some of the things that were mentioned by some of our citizens right here this morning just a few minutes ago. I thought that some things would change when some of this came out in the open. We would start heading down the right trail. But on election day, there was another meeting held at 8 o'clock in the morning. On election day, at 8 o'clock in the morning, this building doesn't open until 8. And whether you're for commercialization or you're against commercialization, I know what the numbers say. I know what the votes say, 2 votes. I know what the vote said this spring. You really look at it, 100% of the votes cast in post 2, 100% of them were for somebody that was against commercialization. Myself and Patty Smith both. And whether you're for it or against it, I made a comment the other night. Some folks asked me, they said, asked me about different things going on with the airport. Obviously, you know, I don't support it. But I don't support it because of promises and commitments made. I don't support it because of the way things were done on 2-day retreats and code words and everything else. And when 4 other commissioners knew about it and 1 didn't, I can't support that. However, let me make this clear. I know from running an election, I know from knocking on doors and phone surveys, I know from the votes that countywide somewhere between 68 and 72% don't support it.
You can't make that statement. You cannot make that
and,
statement.
and then I know also that in my district, it's more than that.
You cannot make that statement.
So, I'm just telling you, even if I was somebody that did support it, because it represented my people, I couldn't support it. And because of what's been done and the way it's been done, I cannot support that. So I do agree to disagree, but I want you to know where I stand on it, on this issue. I'm not going to withdraw this. but I probably would, because of the fact that we received what we received so late last night. I probably am good with tabling this tonight at the 7 o'clock meeting for 2 more weeks to our next meeting.
When I ran in 2008, I made a lot of promises, and those promises, I had people that stood on their front porch and they cried and they said, we're out of the job. We had almost solely counted on the home building industry. Well, we're hoping we're bringing that back, and we're hoping that things are changing. But as I ran for office, I said we will look at 2 or 3 different areas to try to bring jobs to Pollard. One is healthcare, and we did that. With the help of this board, we passed bonds, and we got a hospital that we had hoped for, not a hospital that we could just simply replace. And then the other was aviation. And so our young children would have an opportunity to expand their horizons and work in our county. So I said I would make it, I didn't build it, I inherited it, but I would work and do everything I could to make it be successful. And you heard me say that whatever it took, let's lay everything up on the table. We've been through the worst recession since the Great Depression, and that jobs were important, and what direction do we need to go in. And that's my only and sole source of trying to look for expansion and commercialization of this airport. Now, the skipper is telling me that we need to get back to the business.
You haven't read items 2 or 3.
Okay, let me read number 2. Discuss action to appoint the appointment of John Dean to the Paulding County Airport Authority with a term ending 12/31/16. Gary West to the Paulding County Airport Authority with a term ending 12/31/17. And George Shield to the Paulding County Airport Authority with a term ending 12/31/16. This is forwarded from the January 13th Board of Commissioners meeting. Number 3, discuss action on the appointment of David Goodhead and Dwayne Hewitt to the Paulding County Industrial Authority with a term ending 12/31/15, forwarded from the January 13th Board of Commissioners meeting.
And again, I would reiterate that this is in front of you, but I know that most of you probably have not had an opportunity to read this memo from Jim Grubiak with the Association of County Commissioners of Georgia, because it is 2 pages long, and we literally just received it this morning. And I sent you a draft last night, and it was after hours. It was around 7 o'clock.
Yes.
So it was late. So I would urge that you read it, but I understand that it's late and didn't get to you till this morning.
Gentlemen, if you would take time to read this between now and the 7 o'clock meeting, I think you have to be informed on the law. Under new business, discuss action to adopt resolution 15-02, amending resolution 15-25 at the request of the Georgia State Properties Commission for the purpose of constructing the Department of Driver Services Customer Service Center in Paulding County.
This was requested by the Georgia Properties Commission. Last year, y'all had passed a resolution about the Department of Driver Services building in the county, and they had asked that we amend that to contain language that would say the terms of any deed affecting the conveyance of the identified property to the state of Georgia shall provide that the state should know that should the state no longer use the property for a public purpose as determined by the Georgia State Properties Commission, the county shall have the right of first refusal to repurchase the parcel and all improvements constructed thereon by the state of Georgia at a price which solely represents the fair market value of the improvements alone. So they just asked us to include that language within the deed.
Any discussion?
That language allows them to get state bonds. That's the reason they need to change the language.
They needed the language because that's the language they need in order to get state bonds to build the facility itself.
Number 2, discuss action to adopt resolution 15-03, providing for the sale of Paulding County, Georgia general obligation refunding bond conservation project Series 2015, the original principal amount of not to exceed $8,100,000. Sale of Paulding County, Georgia General Obligation Refunding Bond, Courthouse Government Complex Project, Series 2015, in the original principal amount not to exceed $20,500,000. The naming of the bond registrar and paying agents for said bonds, the adoption of forms to which said bonds shall adhere, the preparation of tax digest of the levy of tax sufficient to pay the principal and interest on said bonds. Number 6, the execution and delivery of said bonds, and number 7, for other related purposes. Tabitha, thank you, and Ms. Skipper both have some comments.
We're looking at each other about who wants to go first. This is actually a resolution. It's going to be done a little bit different than how this board has done this in the past. This is a parameters resolution, which means the purpose of this resolution is to set up the project, make sure that the board is wants to do this project. This is a refunding series, which is actually a word that means refinancing in general terms, meaning you're refinancing these, you're getting a little interest for them. And this sets up a not to exceed amount, and then at our next meeting we will have another resolution where we have the final resolution that will have the final numbers in it. That being said, I'll turn it over to Ms. Pollard.
Okay. The current bonds that we have outstanding are at a rate of 4.255%, and those bonds are structured where one may have one rate and the other one may have another, but they're running from 4.25 to 5. These bonds are being proposed at 2.5 to 3.5. So there's quite a substantial savings. The numbers come back to about $2 million, and there is a cost of issuance for the bonds, but that cost of issuance is approximately 1.5%. So you're looking at about a $300,000 cost of issuance to save about $2.3 million. So you'll find that net about 2. Is there any questions?
John, you want to come forward and go into a little bit more detail on this?
Yes, sir. I apologize. We haven't updated tab with the latest numbers, but it's better news than what you told you. So it's not all bad. Bucky, you
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, I'm Bucky Kimsey with Raymond James Associates, and just a little background on this. In 2007, we issued 2 series of bonds, one to build a courthouse and one for infrastructure, conservation project, excuse me. So for the courthouse and the conservation projects. In December of 2013, we refunded, or fancy name for refinance, just like refinancing your house. We refunded a portion of those bonds and saved $2.5 million at that time. We did not refund all the bonds because of a number of issues, but this is to get the rest of these bonds that are heavily in the money. And I'll let Tom, I don't want to steal his thunder, but there's a lot of money to be saved with the interest rates at what is almost an all-time low in our business, certainly for the 30-year Treasury bond. It hit an all-time low last week. So we've got a placement that we think will work, and we can be pretty specific about the savings as a result.
Thank you, Bucky, and thank you for allowing us to be here to present this morning. As I mentioned a moment ago, the savings are actually better than what we had previously told Tabitha, and we just got a firm offer yesterday afternoon. We're working towards this being part of the reason it's been presented to you in this parameters, and then there will be a additional resolution at your next meeting to ratify the final terms, is because there are a few moving parts. The main part is to get a commitment on the interest rate of the new debt. We have one second part where we actually invest in these funds for a very short period of time until the old bonds can actually be paid off. They have a non-prepayment provision in the old bonds. So we have to invest the funds from this borrowing for just a little while until that can be paid off, and we will set the rate of that investment through a competitive bidding process as early as tomorrow if the commissioners go forward and tell us this is what you want to do. But we thought we would be at a rate of about 270. We've actually been able to secure a commitment at a rate of 250. And this is bonds that don't mature, the longest ones do not mature until 2032. The gross savings that this refinance will produce is $4,459,000. So that's a good bit more than what we previously thought we had. The markets continue to improve, up basically through the early part of last week, which is when we got a rate from the banks. They were able to get it through all of their credit committees as of yesterday afternoon. So we now have a firm offer at that rate. We've actually seen rates tick up just a little bit since then, which is actually good for us because we're going to be on a very short-term basis reinvesting some of these funds and trying to get that. So things have actually worked out very well. We don't know what would happen going forward, but we do know we have what we think is a very attractive offer in hand. So we wanted to present that to you to get your approval to go forward with the other necessary steps to make this happen. Bucky mentioned that we had previously refinanced some of these bonds prior to this, and there were some technical reasons why we couldn't do all of them at that time, and some of them didn't make savings at that time. When you combine this refinance with the old refinance, the gross savings will be just at $7 million, which is a $7 million reduction in what you otherwise would have paid without refinance. I do think it's important to mention what these bonds do not do. The bonds do not extend the maturity beyond what you already have. The bonds create savings also in each and every year. On average, this particular refinance, around $200,000 in savings every year between now and 2032. It's a little more, some years a little less than others. It's always important for us to say we are not extending the term. This is just keeping exactly the payment structure you had, just lowering the payment every year. And we're happy to take any questions.
You have you two here. Who else is here with you today?
The two of us are here representing Raymond James.
We have our bond counsel here.
Oh, here, yes.
Yes, and Jim Woodward's your bond attorney. He's here.
Law firm Creighton and Woodward, Jim Woodward. And any questions regarding the bond resolution presented to you? As Lonnie mentioned, this is a parameters resolution. This is the initial step to proceed with the bond transaction. At tonight's meeting, I'll decide to move forward with these terms. This will allow us to go into validation, allow us to accept the initial term sheet that Tom Palmer just mentioned, that allows the bidding of for escrow securities. Basically, all the initial steps to get it going. And once all those escrows are priced, we know exactly what the terms of the bonds are going to be at this interest rate. Basically, I'll come back and adopt a supplemental resolution to move forward. So this basically starts the process. I'll do come back within 2 weeks, like 4 weeks, through the final terms and actually decide you want to move forward at that time as well. So this is not the last vote on this. It's basically gets the process going. It allows everybody to kind of lock in this interest rate that was presented last time.
I'd like to ask, I was talking with Tabitha, the conservation project, which is like a green space covenant, was in 07?
That's right.
So I don't even know where that is, Mike. Maybe some of the audience would also be interested, you know? Is it a piece of property in the county? Or is it?
The purchase property?
Yeah.
You hear it referred to as part of the, quote, 7,000 acres, but it's on the western side of the county, and it's kind of elongated, running north-south, and it's bisected by 278.
It was the forest property on the north side of the county.
Okay.
Correct.
Just didn't know.
Any other discussion?
I got a question to ask.
Sure.
You, did you write the intergovernmental agreement between the airport authority and the board of commissioners?
The one that was discussed earlier at this meeting?
Right, the one that the previous board passed in 2014.
Right, so basically, that contract, I believe was in the summer, the county asked me to draft an initial form of a contract between the airport authority and the county, which I did. I prepared that. And I guess maybe later that summer, revised draft provided me, I provided comments to it. But basically, like other contracts between the county and the hospital authority and the county and other governments, I typically review most everyone contracts, a lot of everyone contracts, to basically look at the legality and enforceability. But yes, I did review that one, as I do for several other contracts that the county does.
Did you review it or did you write it?
So basically what I did is, it's a draft, initial draft provided as a standard minimum contract. So I was asked to provide an initial contract. It had all the requirements of the Constitution, minimum contract in there. The services section was left blank. We basically had all the typical requirements as a model, based off the model that the hospital authority will come in there too, and other contracts. So basically I provided an initial draft, and then comments were made on what services are provided by the airport authority.
Can I ask you just one more question? Sure. You tell me who asked you to do that.
I believe the first call came from, I think I got calls from both the airport authority attorney and the county attorney. And I'm trying to think, there were no meetings were held that I was present for those. So I believe it came, basically, lawyers coming together to, address the airport contract. And so, I'll look back on my record and see if I can email chains, but I'm not sure if anything else came at that time. But in the next meeting, I can definitely provide that to you.
Airport authority attorney and the board commissioner's attorney.
I believe so, yes, and I'll confirm. I know, all I know is that I did speak to them about it, and so, but I can look through my notes and find out.
Thank you for answering.
I got a question. Jill, were you paid for that service?
No, sir. No, sir. Basically, for several things I do for the county, attend several meetings, I do a lot of contracts, and basically I do it for the county, so I was not paid for that.
So you weren't paid for it, but at the same time you did a lot of contracts?
Basically, as an ongoing process, I like to assist the county with any prospects looking to move here, a lot of different things. And basically, I don't charge a fee for that. It's basically just to look out for the best interest of the county. But it's like an estimate bill and it's not charge. And I've done that on several occasions for the county, just as our ongoing relationship to make sure I understand what's going on in the county. Thank you.
Jim is part of business, and his dad was in this business too. They're one of the best bond counsels in the Southeast, and highly regarded. But what I don't want to see happen is somebody that carries out the will of a board to be punished for doing that. I don't see department heads be punished for something that you carry out the will of this board, and I want to see contractors who are hired or in some cases do work for us to be punished for work that the majority of the board asked them to do. So thank you for what you do and appreciate it. Item number 3, discuss action to authorize the chairman to enter into a professional services contract in the approximate amount of $361,490 with Cora Engineering for engineering, design, and architectural service for the planned Union Park to be located adjacent to Mulberry Rock Road and Billy Bullock Road. Michael Justice.
Good morning.
Good morning.
As we mentioned, the location of the Mulberry Rock and Billy Bullock, there's a little road frontage on both of those properties. It's adjacent to the Skyview Middle School, to give you a little bit more physical references there as well. We've awarded bits and pieces of this project before. What this one is the final design, architectural services, and engineering for the project. When it is completed, then we will be ready to go forward with the same process that we use for the development of Veterans Park here, the construction management after this project. This award will take us to that step. The park is approximately 160 acres as planned. There is some conceptual work that is done, and it will be done in phases. The first phase of that will be 90% passive, meaning more passive activities than activities that are requiring movements, athletic fields, things of that nature. Those will come in additional phases as they are warranted and and ask for needed.
More along the lines of White Oak.
That's correct, yes, sir. Property was purchased in 2008. In the previous SPONS term, with the understanding that it would be developed during this one.
Any discussion?
As far as the design and the pre-construction and the construction, it will be run like Veterans Park.
Yes, sir.
So in a few months, take bids from the contractor.
That's correct. Excuse me, we'll form a selection committee. A couple of you guys served on that committee in the past. I would hope that we can do the same thing here. That selection committee will be presented with a list of construction management companies that will decide upon at that time to do the actual construction and completion.
Any other questions?
Several things have held that park up the last few years, and Mike Jones and I kind of talked several months ago about it. So I'm looking forward to it. That happens to be in post 2, and we don't have one of those big new parks. So it's been a long time coming. I think you were here before.
Correct, I bought that property.
With the purchase of the land. So it has been a long time, and I know the folks in post 2 are looking forward to that. So thank you.
Number 4, discuss action to adopt resolution 15-04, the Paulding County Board of Commissioners requesting Paulding County delegation to the Georgia General Assembly not introduce any local legislation affecting Paulding County without request or approval of the Paulding County Board of Commissioners. This item, something Todd brought up. I will say that the 6 years that I'm serving on this board, I've always understood that to be a gentleman's agreement, that we didn't have to tell them or ask them that they knew they wouldn't introduce anything without a complete authority. This board asked them to. It was the practice of it way before that. So I'm not sure why we're having to tell them what we want them to do when they've always understood it. Mr. Pownell, this was your.
Yep. You want to say something, Mr. Carmel? Go ahead.
I spoke with Representative Maxwell, and he just affirmed the same thing that the chairman just said, that they weren't going to bring up anything new that affected the local citizens here without speaking with us.
Well, and I appreciate that. After last year, what happened, there was something put in the newspaper by Representative Maxwell, and there was something going to be done that did not come before the entire board. When I was notified of that in the paper, that actually became a topic of discussion on the board last year. And so yeah, I went to each of the representatives, Kimberly Alexander, Paulette Braddock Rakestraw, Howard Maxwell, Micah Gravely, went to the senators, Mike Dugan and Bill Heath. And I asked each of them, I said, listen, I said, after this has happened, when this was in the newspaper, and something was going to be done without this board recommending it, and just by a handful of people. In fact, it was about 3 people that were going to do that with 1 representative. And I feel like that the citizens have the right to know, and if there's something that we need to change in local legislation right here that's going to affect the governing body of this board, then that needs to come before this board, and we need to send them a resolution saying, hey, this is what we would like to see. That way the citizens have some input in that. And so yeah, I brought this up. They all agreed on that face-to-face contact, that they're okay with that. So I think this resolution is something that we should all be able to agree with, that basically if there's something that we feel like we need to do, it needs to come before this board, we vote on it, and then if there's enough votes, we move forward and it goes to them. So would you like to read the resolution? Thank you.
Whereas from time to time, local legislation is introduced through the Georgia General Assembly by the local delegates, which materially affects the health, safety, or welfare of the citizens of the county. And Whereas the topics of the local legislation can range from measures affecting the homestead exemption rates to creations or changes in the memberships or missions of authorities or boards within the county. And whereas the Paulding County Board of Commissioners believes that unless such matters concerns the school district and its mission, that prior to local delegates pursuing and presenting a bill to the General Assembly, which affects only Paulding County as local legislation, that members should seek the approval for such local legislation via resolution from this board. Now therefore be it resolved by the Paulding County Board of Commissioners as follows. 1. The Paulding County Board of Commissioners respectfully request its local delegation to the General Assembly not present any local legislation to the Georgia General Assembly during the current legislative session or future legislative sessions which are not specifically authorized or approved by this board via a resolution requesting staying, notwithstanding those measures which may be sought by the local school district. 2. The clerk of the Paulding County Board of Commissioners is hereby directed to send a copy of this resolution to the local delegation to the General Assembly, namely Representative Howard Maxwell, Representative Kimberly Alexander, Representative Paulette Rakestraw, Representative Mike Bradley, Senator Bill Heath, and Senator Mike Dugan, within 5 days of the date of this resolution. So resolved this blank day of blank 2015.
Okay, we're now at the part of our public participation on non-agenda items. We have Cecilia McNicken coming to speak about the airport. Expecting me out 5 minutes, and Ms. Gibbons will let you know.
Now you're getting old when you have to have your reading glasses and large glasses, right? First off, I want to thank each and every one of you for your service to our county. I really appreciate it, and I know you're underappreciated a lot of the time. I know you're underpaid for the hours you put in, so thank you. I'm here today to voice my support, my full support, for the expansion and commercialization of our airport for several different reasons. First off, as we all know, 75% of our residents commute out of this county to go to work every day. Second, our tax base is terribly lopsided, it's terribly uneven, with the Paulding homeowners bearing the terrific brunt of the taxes. In fact, over 70%. Number 3, I absolutely feel we have an obligation to our future generations. We have an obligation to make this a business-friendly environment, to create jobs, to create economic stability. Number 4, you know, I've heard a lot about what jobs would be at the airport, what jobs would be at the actual side of the airport. It's not just that. You have to consider the filter down factor. This is going to affect businesses all over Paulding County, therefore stimulating economic development. Now I'd like to talk to you about the Part 139 certification. I know this is a done deal, but for the reasons I just talked about, I am of the opinion that to rescind the Commission's support of the Part 139 certificate application was a very bad decision. As most of you know, the 139 certification does not mandate that we have commercial service. It simply gives us that option. Why would we not keep that option open? Why? I do support commercial flights. However, I would be willing to listen to anyone that has any other viable, very specific options to bring economic development to our area. So far, I haven't seen anything, not anything other than the airport is being very specific. I was going to speak about the resolution for removal of several of the airport authority and industrial building authority members. I think David Carmichael and David Austin pretty much hit that on the head. So I commend y'all for understanding the importance and significance of that. Now something very important, the pending litigation, all the pending lawsuits that have been filed by 6 residents of this county. I have a challenge for each and every one of you. I challenge you to move forward to identify the persons or the organizations that are financially funding these lawsuits and costing not just me, I'm not just concerned about me, I'm concerned about every citizen of Paulding County. The tax dollars are going to defend that litigation. We have to do that. You have to defend litigation. Are these people that are funding, are they even members of our community? Does anybody know that? What is their motivation, and why are they afraid of Paulding having commercial airport service? What do they hope to gain if they are successful in this litigation? And before any of you say it's none of my business, it is. We're, again, as taxpayers, are paying for this. Me personally, I can't imagine putting my name on the face of a lawsuit. I can't, without knowing who's funding it. We already know they don't know, they testified that they don't know who's funding it. How can you possibly responsibly do that? That's all I have. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Personal liberty, squash funds, and recreational opportunities.
Before I begin, Ms. Skipper, I didn't know if I'd be allowed. I printed off some photographs for the commissioners of one of the parks map. Can I? Thank you. And I apologize ahead of time. I didn't print off a set for you, and I do apologize for that. Maybe someone will share.
I'll share.
Great. Sorry about that. Okay. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
2 weeks ago, I spoke to you about White Oak Park and the condition that the park is in, and how disappointed I was that the tax dollars I pay apparently aren't going to keep the most used park in the county in a state of good repair. After the meeting, Mr. Carmichael came to me and several others and pledged that he would absolutely get the park repaired, so I told him I would keep him to his promise. A few days after, I decided to run there on the trail at the park. Now, I would love to give kudos, if only kudos were due. I'm not sure if what they did you could call a repair or a joke. First, they drove a vehicle on the trail, which created a whole nother level of fun when the rain filled in those ruts and created a small marsh to run through. Then, what they put in those ruts was a mix of soft dirt and giant rocks. So now, when you run through, you have to jump around the rocks and miss the sand, which is basically more dangerous to a runner than avoiding the seeable ruts. Never mind that I saw a poor mother trying to push her young twins through the disaster, and she had to turn around and go home. Shortly thereafter, it rained, which washed away the soft dirt stuff and left behind the rock, which is now exposing the ruts again. At the bottom of the hill near the playground is a giant swamp. There's no other word for it. It is a bottomland anyway, and now since the vehicle drove on it, it's even worse. It's an embarrassment. I sincerely hope this is not something Mr. Carmichael asked for, as certainly he would be disappointed if he saw it. Gentlemen, I am here to tell you that I am a former County Parks Department program director. As a background check on me would clearly show, we would have used our tax and SPLOST dollars to improve and secure our existing parks before we poured dollars into new parks and things that were not necessarily needed at the time. As I drove around to other parks, I noted other poor trail conditions, parking lots that are in desperate need of repair, and a general feeling that unless it's a baseball or softball field, it's not worth being cared for. Speaking to several citizens, they are frustrated themselves over this feeling. Have you spoken to your citizens? Do you have a pulse for what they need and want? Over the last year, I have spent countless hours speaking to hundreds and hundreds of people. The two things that they want most is open, honest, and transparent ethical government and responsible use of their taxpayer dollars. I can see why they have lost faith. When you secretly, or not, pour millions into projects that the citizens do not want, have voted against, and do not support, just because you think you can get away with it, you definitely create a wave of resistance and resentment. Larry Flint said, "Majority rule only works if you're also considering individual rights, because you can't have 5 wolves and 1 sheep voting on what to have for supper." The time is now to turn the tide of distrust, dishonesty, lies, and deceit. Andrew Jackson said, it is to be regretted that the rich and powerful too often bend the acts of government to their own selfish purposes. You all have the unique and tedious task to start stitching this county back together after being torn to pieces. The citizens are watching you. They are going to hold you accountable for your actions. They are waking up and are not afraid to speak out on the wrongs that have been done. No giant corporation is paying them. No highly enthroned group is backing them. The people are simply seeing through the web of lies that has been spun around them. They are simply fed up. Government is for the people, by the people. It's a new season, a fresh new slate. Time for change, gentlemen. Time for change. Do not disappoint us. Thank you.
Susan Breen.
I don't know if I can follow that one. Chairman Austin, I support the airport expansion for all the same reasons as many other supporters do. I don't follow the numbers, the reports, the inspections, the evaluations. You guys do all that. I operate in and around Paulding County, but I also travel outside of the state frequently, and I look forward to another option outside of Hartsville. After moving here to Paulding County 18 years ago, my husband Joe and I finally consider ourselves locals. When we first started looking for a church family, Commissioner Dave Carmichael and his family were some of the first folks we met. He and his large family were very welcoming, inviting us into their home and helping me with my early participation in local community service. Thank you, Commissioner Carmichael, for all you do for this county, for your country. You're one of the most honest, upstanding men in this room. And I challenge any of you to doubt me on that. I challenge you. My phone number, 404-314-0893. These are some of the goofiest people I think I've ever seen over here. In a commissioner's meeting today, in 1 hour and 26 minutes, all I have heard is rehashing numbers about the airport and other, I don't know what they were blaming the bond people for something. What was all that? I mean, the parks are important. And by the way, White Oak Park is fabulous. I love that place. My family uses it all the time. Not long after moving here, we also met a young family in our neighborhood. They were a hard-working couple starting their family, both working full-time. They just graduated college, and they were both working full-time, running a new house, but they still found time to involve neighbors in raising awareness for various causes. I always made time to talk with them and listen to their trials of new home ownership. Eventually, they moved on to a larger home to accommodate their growing family, but we still stay in touch, and I'm extremely proud to call Blake and Lana Swafford close friends of mine. You can snicker over there, folks. You know not what you speak of. I want to emphasize hardworking, honest, faithful, respectful, intelligent when I describe them. I know them. You know what you read on social media. Another young family I met here, also hardworking, faithful, honest, community-minded, caught my attention with their love of horses, goats, dogs, cats, chickens, farming, and working hard. They are engaging, intelligent, and fiercely loyal, family-oriented. The amount of time that they have spent volunteering for various local events in this county is hard to imagine. Another family of fine, long-time county residents, Carrie and Lori Tidmore. They are absolutely genuine, honest, professional, trustworthy people. I know them. You don't. You know what you read on social media. And another family I met years ago remains at the top of the list of goal-oriented, family devotion, community-oriented, professional, hardworking, in the face of outrageous disrespect. I mean, I was born in 1961, and I was raised to respect authority in whatever terms you might want to put that. My family appreciates David and Jane Austin, and we admire their courage and determination in the light of some of the most outrageous, disrespectful events I have ever seen. I grew up in the city of Atlanta. I grew up in racial discrimination times, but I've never seen anything like I've seen out here in Paulding County from so-called residents. As I move forward with my comments, I'm not asking for clarification on any of my following statements. I'm just stating events as I perceive them. Perspective is how one looks at something. These are my opinions. Commissioner Powell, You should be ashamed of your behavior. In Matthew, we learned if anyone slaps, shut up! Give me the respect that you gave Kristen when she stood up here and cried.
Told to sit down.
In Matthew, we learned if anyone slaps you on one cheek, you should turn the other cheek, right? To participate in the actions and behaviors that you and your supporters complained about in campaigns against.
You're out.
Can I move forward? The respect I and my family have for you is long gone. I don't believe I can say what I need to say about Mr. President. Other than he represents a group of residents, even though his campaign platform was that he wanted to create jobs by supporting small existing businesses. Yet he supports a group of people who want to boycott the local college, the local heating and air conditioning company, the local garden center. As soon as that nonsense started, I prejudged every one of them. I'm not changed by personal opinions. As far as some of the opposition, before I realized what a waste of time online forums were, I was shocked at the anti-government sentiment posted daily by some of them. Okay, I got another minute as you have everybody else. Recently, when some of you began using social media platforms requiring actual names, it became clear many of you were hiding behind the anonymity of aliases with your bitter personalities. And I guess misery loves company, and I see it. I remember when the expansion issue first came out, I spoke to some of you. I wanted to know your perspective, John. And was told time and again that it was about how the decisions were made, not the actual expansion.
Just bring it.
But when it became known that big Atlanta lawyers were involved, it was clear to me what had occurred. And it's clear to us why the fish can stop the control. Thank you.
Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Second?
Motion second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.